Hello, I'm David McGard. This is Property Value. I talk about commercial real estate focused on South Florida. Today is April 26th, and our first headline goes something like this. Restaurants push Senate for more COVID-19 relief funding. Let's see what's going on. As the Senate ponders new COVID-19, this is on the South Florida Business Journal, written by Andy Medici. As the Senate ponders new COVID-19 relief funding for restaurants and other hard-hit industries, a restaurant trade group released a survey that calls attention to the plight of restaurant owners who missed out on prior funding programs. The survey found nearly 1/4 of restaurants that did not receive a grant through the Restaurant Revitalization Fund in 2021 are in danger of closing their business within 3 months. That works out to about 24% of restaurants that did not receive an RRF grant, compared to just 13% of those restaurants that did, according to a survey of nearly 1,000 business owners by the Independent Restaurant Coalition as part of an effort to underscore the need for additional rescue grants. Meanwhile, about 48% of restaurants that did not receive an RF grant said they're in danger of defaulting on a loan, more than twice the 22% of the businesses that received the RF grant. About 4% of the restaurants that didn't get a grant said they are in danger of filing bankruptcy, compared to 25% of those restaurants that did get a grant. After 2 years of missed rent, supplier and utility payments, and navigating astronomical food costs and multiple COVID-19 surges that brought businesses to a halt, independent restaurants and bars are out of time, options, and money, said Erica Palmar, executive director of the Independent Restaurant Coalition, in a press release announcing the findings. There's only one solution to the crisis: provide these businesses the financial support they need before it's too late. Sure, just give them free money. Well, money's not free. The survey also found 28% of restaurants that did not get an RF grant are in danger of being evicted, compared to 20% for those that did get a grant. So there's only an 8% delta. 91% of owners said a grant would allow them to absorb rising food costs without significantly raising menu prices. 51% said a grant would allow them to expand outdoor dining options, while 44% said a grant would help them expand their menu. Expand outdoor dining options, expand their menu. That doesn't seem like that just seems like, oh, I want to make my business better, so give me some free money. Now, I could see if the restaurant is actually going to go in bankruptcy, that's a different thing. But to expand their menu or expand their outdoor, I'd like to expand my patio in my townhouse. That'd be nice too. Please give me some money. 77% of restaurants reported a grant would allow them to pay their rent. That's a different story. But if you can't pay your rent today, I would have to see a pro forma on the numbers. How are you supposed to pay your rent next month or a month after that? Or when that money runs out, how are you paying your rent? How are you obtaining customers? What is your cost of customer? The survey is a part of an effort to encourage the Senate to pass additional small business rescue legislation, and comes nearly a year after the initial RFF was depleted. The $28.6 billion RF was created in March 2021, but the Small Business Administration closed it on June 30th once funding was exhausted. At that time, the SBA said more than 278,000 applications were submitted to the program, but the agency was only able to find approximately 101,000 of them. A standalone bill in the Senate also has an additional $42 billion earmarked for the RFF, and another $2 billion earmarked for gyms, $2 billion for live events industries, smaller amounts for minor league sports teams and businesses situated along the borders with Canada and Mexico, among other programs. The House already has passed H.R. 3807, or the Relief for Restaurants and Other Hard-Hit Small Businesses Act of 2022, which would provide about $42 billion to provide fresh funding for the RRF, an additional $13 billion to create an industry-neutral relief program for small businesses that saw precipitous drops in the revenue because of COVID-19. If the legislation passes both houses, the two chambers would either need to agree on compromise legislation, or one chamber would have to pass the other's bill in order to send it to the President Biden for his signature. However, a number of obstacles remain before the legislation could become law. The fresh funding effort comes as lawmakers tussle over the future of the SBA. Senator Ben Cardin, DMD, chairman of the Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, said in a March speech on Senate floor that Congress should take the lessons it learned from COVID-19 rescue programs and create a new direct lending program at the SBA. And the SBA continues to deal with the aftermath of the historic rescue programs, including setting up a new fraud risk management board to manage a risk in the agency's programs, including the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Programs. In a congressional hearing in January, the SBA Inspector General stressed the agency's COVID-19 relief programs had a high susceptibility to fraud after the agencies relaxed some requirements for those programs in 2020. Meanwhile, experts say the PPP forgiveness process will continue into early 2023. And the appeals come ensure that the SBA is still deciding on individual PPP cases for years to come. Me, myself, I'd want to see if the restaurants were actually producing before COVID-19, and did they have a track record of performing? Because most restaurants, high percentage of them, fail after 2-3 years. So are we just pushing money into something that's going to sink anyways? Or are we actually helping a really great business that had been there for years and can show the historical trend that the business is doing better? Who's to say? But I guess there's more money out there, and it's coming to the restaurants.